waiting on the schedule release, but a couple of drips and drabs, a couple of Celtics national TV games. We're going to talk about that. Plus, Jaylen Brown out and about in Boston. That's a great thing. Grant Williams out and about in Boston too. Sure, that's a good thing too. What he had to say about JB, it's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you for making this show part of your regular routine. Normally here for you 5 days a week, this time 3 days a week. In fact, I think this week, it's usually now I go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I might adjust it this week, do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll see if there's a Friday show to do. But the schedule is coming out on Wednesday. We're going to talk a little bit about the games that we know about today. But I'll do a Thursday podcast on the schedule. That just might be my third podcast of the week. So make sure you're subscribed. This way you know, and follow the Locked On Celtics podcast on Twitter. That's where I announce things like this, at LO Celtics. That's how I announce, like, hey, no show today or an extra show today or whatever. So make sure you follow there. But subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube as I continue to adjust here. Okay, today I'm standing up on the YouTube. I don't know why. Just decided before we started the podcast, hey, I want to stand up. And that's a thing that you're going to get on the YouTube version of the podcast. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Been covering the team for about 16 years now. 16th season starting this season. I've also written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars. Today, we're getting into a bunch of things. Obviously, some Jaylen Brown talk, some Grant Williams talk, some schedule talk. We're doing it with the well-lit Tom Westerholm at Tom_NBA. Tom, what's going on?
Just want to shout out Lawrence Akers and at Friars44 on Twitter. You boys got a ring light, now, so pro over here.
Yeah,
just trying to give 110% every day. Get a little bit better in practice every day.
Yep. Watch the video.
Much like yourself, Mr. John, Pat McAfee Karalis, standing up over there, waving your hands around. I assume Aaron Rodgers is your guest tomorrow. It'll be good stuff. So.
Yeah. I didn't even know Pat McAfee stood up. I have this standing desk over here. I'm trying new things. I got to make sure I got to make sure I have pockets. I got to make sure the microphone stays with me. Do I need one of those headsets that they use at the games? Like, do I need to get one of those things? I mean, how outrageous do I want to be? Meanwhile, I have the green screen behind me and standing in the garden, of course.
You're standing in the garden with Locked On Celtics all over the seats, yes.
Yes. I mean, I got them to make the those big curtain things that they pull over the seats. So very obviously I'm standing in the garden. I'm building out a studio here for me to do the podcast, a little something special for the YouTube viewers. I don't know. People who listen to the podcast, like in the car, and they just don't care about any of this. They're like, whatever, just talk about the Celtics, John. Shut up about your studio and your screen and your lights and start talking about basketball, will you? So we'll do that. I guess we'll start with some of the leaks with the schedule. The Celtics, we know, are going to open up the season against the Philadelphia 76ers. We know that, I think it's December 10th, they're going to be at Golden State. That's going to be the first rematch of the NBA Finals. And then Christmas Day, the Celtics will host the Milwaukee Bucks. So as we wait for the whole schedule, Tom, obviously looks like the Celtics are going to be heavily featured. Opening night, Sixers. I mean, we all talk about like, oh, what do you think? Sixers. I mean, that's going to be a nice opening night. You got
absolutely,
the James Harden. You got Embiid. That's always a fun thing. Nice, fresh Al Horford to go up against Embiid. That's going to be it's going to be a fun game.
It's going to be super fun. I think it It's going to be fun because, like, I think one of the things that happened last year is like the Celtics kind of they picked up some new rivals, right? Like the Warriors are kind of I mean, they were always kind of a rival because like they always played each other really well, but like now it's real. Now it's like that's one of the games. Like Celtics on December 10 or at Golden State on December 10. In Boston on January 21. Those are things that get leaked now. Because that's such a big deal now. Is because they just played each other. That's kind of fun, and then. But I do think it's and the Heat obviously like going that far against them. Celtics were already rivals with the Heat, but that's going to get ramped up next year. I mean, these are the Celtics Bucks was always good, but just to kind of get back to the roots, right? Like the Celtics and the Sixers, and two teams that like the fan bases just hate each other. Well, kind of grudgingly respect each other, but like cheer very hard against the other team, just want to bust each other's. Like I think I think it's going to be. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's a good national game. It's got stars, it's got young guys, it's got all the stuff. But then also it's really good nationally, and nationally and locally. It'll be a fun opening night, I think.
You got plenty of star power. You got Durant and Embiid. You
got who is that? Karalis? You got Durant and Embiid. Are you making a call?
Yes, I'm making the call. I'm sorry.
Because I was going to bring that up. I was going to say the other thing that the NBA is sneaky doing is the two teams who are in the Durant sweepstakes, or the two teams that Durant wants to go to. If he goes to one of those two teams, all of a sudden that first game of the season is going to be a banger.
Sure. I meant to say Harden and Embiid.
Okay.
But I said Durant, and maybe it's a Freudian slip. Maybe he goes to the maybe he goes to Philly and I don't know, who do they trade? If he goes to Philly and they're able to do like they are able to keep Embiid and they're obviously Embiid keep Harden, then that all of a sudden changes the entire dynamic of the East. I don't know if they're going to be able to get away with that. I don't think that's going to be a deal that comes to fruition. But the star part, I think you get Tatum. I'm going to say you get Jaylen Brown in on this too. I think it's going to be, and I think the Celtics, it should be a fun opening night because the Celtics very obviously want to come out and set a tone, right? They all talk about coming out strong and starting the season and not having the whatever the beginning of last season was. So I think the Celtics are going to come out and want to make a statement right away. And I think the Sixers, sure, they might, but I think Embiid is going to be in a ramp up mode. He's just gone through 2 seasons where he couldn't finish because of injury. He's been trying like hell to get the MVP. It's not gotten him anywhere. Team hasn't done anything. He has to understand like, okay, I gotta make myself healthy to start the season. I mean, to end the season, start the season, whatever. I gotta take it easy. So I think we're lining up. I'm already making predictions. I think the Celtics should have some fun on opening night because I think the Celtics are going to want to come out and send a message there.
I also think the Sixers are going to want to come out and send a message because the last time those two teams played, the final score, I believe, was 135-87. So,
oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Christmas Day, Bucks at Celtics, Sixers at Knicks, Suns at Nuggets, Lakers at Mavericks, Grizzlies at Warriors. I mean, I got a problem with the Knicks being on the schedule. I understand the ratings and all of that stuff, but come on. I mean, 76ers, I mean, at Miami, can't you put like a good team in the East? People aren't going to watch Miami. Like, put a better team on there.
I hear you. I think I'm going to be a little bit contrarian here because I do think there is a little bit of like obviously the Knicks are Madison Square Garden, classic basketball. That Christmas Day is a classic basketball day. I forget who it was. I apologize, but I saw somebody on Twitter point out that it's objectively very funny that the Nets still can't get a Christmas Day game over the Knicks. Even given everything, the Nets funny. Still just can't.
That is funny.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'm here for a little disrespect by the NBA. I think it's funny.
Well, look, all of this Durant stuff is really messing up the schedule makers. It's probably why this is a little bit later than usual. The schedule's generally out by now.
Yeah.
there's no date for people. It's always somewhere in early to mid August. This is very much mid August because it's going to happen on August 17th. Teams have had a version of the schedule probably for a few days. That's why you're seeing these leaks. The NBA is not leaking this stuff. Teams are leaking these things out. People who want to get in good, whatever. Who knows who, why? But
you see a lot of local guys get like games here and there from the teams that they cover, which is a pretty good sign of what's going on there.
Yeah. So there's some of that. So the I totally lost my train of thought there. Which doesn't happen to me much in the podcast.
It does not. No,
it does not happen to me.
You're pretty good at staying on the tracks.
Yeah. But I don't even know what the hell I was just talking about. This is very August podcasting. The Nets are not on the schedule because of all of this stuff. They've waited so long.
Yeah.
To get to figure out if there's going to be a trade that they've just kind of pushed, because if Kevin Durant is on the Nets, they would certainly put Sixers at Nets. Certainly, that makes the most sense. But now it's like, hey, we got to get the New York market in, whatever. Anyway, I lost my train of thought there for no good reason on a topic that didn't mean anything. I want to talk about Bucks at Celtics and how Celtics Bucks has become kind of like a Christmas Day thing.
It's going to be super fun. I mean, look, I think it's I think that one of the things that's going to make that rivalry really fun this year is that like Celtics fans can with 100% accuracy say, we eliminated Giannis, we got him out of the playoffs. Yep. Grant Williams, Al Horford, these guys defend him awesome. And Bucks fans can say with 100% accuracy, Chris Middleton, and this still went to 7. It just makes for a perfect sports argument where there's nobody will ever agree on anything. And by the way, the teams play great games against each other. Like we've seen, we've seen a Tatum buzzer beater. We've seen that game last year where the Celtics had a 19-point lead and then the Bucks came storming back, and Giannis had that crazy block on Robert Williams, and all this stuff that happens between these two teams. We've got, how many now? 3 playoff series where Giannis and some iteration of the Celtics have taken each other on, and I think this is kind of building into one of the better rivalries in the NBA, which very fun. Good Christmas Day fodder for sure.
It is. It's going to be a lot of fun. I didn't see MLK schedule.
It's out. The Celtics are, I think Shams had it, and the Celtics we're not on it from what I remember.
Celtics not on really.
So the TNT games on MLK Day were Heat and Hawks in Atlanta and Suns and Grizzlies in Memphis.
Right. That's only 2 of the games. So still have to get. I think there's probably 3 more games on the slate. The Celtics have to be on it.
Yeah.
They have to be on it. We'll figure that out. We'll come back. We'll do a podcast tomorrow for the schedule and all of that stuff. So, but obviously Celtics going to be well represented on all these national games. The Nets are not, because who knows what the hell's going on with Kevin Durant. And in the meantime, still some Jaylen chatter. I don't want to go too deep into it. I'm going to try to make this not the headline on the banner that I make and all of that. So people are sick of it, but still keeps happening, Tom. So we'll talk about it when we come back. Jaylen Brown out in the community and people trying to twist what he said so far out of whack. I don't know, man. Talk about that next. First, let's get a message about driving under the influence this summer here. We know that you're going to be hanging out with some friends, putting back a few. I mean, that's what we do, right? Get together, go to a barbecue, throw a few beers back. That's fine, right? Then a few becomes a few too many as the evening comes to an end. People start to head out and you think about calling for a ride and you think, nah, I live nearby. I'm going to make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you get pulled over anyway? Even so, what's the worst that can happen? Your insurance goes up, or you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, maybe you kill somebody. Everybody knows the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on the roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again, play it safe, plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. You can head on over to Locked On NBA, make that your second listen. Recording this show after I recorded Locked On NBA with Jake Madison, because I host the Wednesday show with him. Rotating hosts all week long. We got into a little bit of the schedule. We got into a little bit of Kevin Durant. We got into Donovan Mitchell in the Knicks and Danny Ainge. That's all part of the Wednesday Locked On NBA show. So go check that out. Make it your second listen after Locked On Celtics. Find that wherever you got this podcast. Bring Tom back in. Jaylen Brown out in the community this weekend, catching some local basketball out at where was that? Do you remember that?
Harambe Park in Boston with Rochester versus Dorchester versus Roxbury game.
There you
go.
Yep. Put out some pictures on social media. It was there, seen with the Mayor Wu.
Mm-hmm.
And the comment, he put out an Instagram photo with him saying, let me see.
I got you.
You have it? You have the caption here?
I believe in my community believe in me. Yep.
Right. So looks like, hey, I believe in my community. My community believes in me. He's out there in Boston at an important game, Boston street ball. So it looks like, hey, man, I see it as Jaylen in Boston talking about being part of the community. And that's a good sign, right? He's here. He's not avoiding the city. He's not avoiding being seen out in the city. And I just see it as another one of these. Yeah, this is, of course, Jaylen likes Boston. He likes being out in Boston. I don't see anything wrong with that. Of course, though, there are people on the radio who are like, no, he's not talking about Boston. He's talking about this. He's talking about people are really twisting themselves and not trying to make this into something that, Jaylen wants out. Jaylen's done. What does Jaylen have to do to just get these people to shut up?
Jaylen has to do nothing because they're not going to shut up. It's not his job to make them shut up. It's his, he's doing everything right, for one thing, he's an excellent basketball player, which is the thing he's employed to do. So, I think if there's anything that, we take away from Bill Russell, I think one of the things is that he's a man who plays basketball, he's not a basketball player. He's a man who plays basketball. And then, he's having fun. It's fun to go to to community events. It's fun to be out, watching people play basketball. Even I think, no matter how good you are, no matter, what level you are, it's fun to get out into those, and it's meaningful for the guys playing in it to see Jaylen Brown out there. I've got friends and acquaintances and everybody who play in a lot of these, in these types of games, guys who play, just really talented players who play at Rutgers sometimes, stuff like that. And it would mean a lot to have professional players, to have NBA players, to have an NBA All-Star showing up and watching you hoop. What an opportunity to get to play in front of an NBA All-Star. And, Jaylen's giving that to guys. That's really cool. It's cool that he's out there. And I think, this idea that he's somehow not talking about the Celtics. Yeah, he's not talking about the Celtics. He's talking about his community. I think if there's one thing, whatever you say about, whatever drama this whole situation may have caused or not caused, whatever, Jaylen does care about Boston. This is a place he was drafted here. He was, he's played for years. He's had all these wonderful experiences here. He's, started his shop, started his pop-up shop out in, in the middle of Boston. And, and yeah, he's showing up to events here. These, whatever you say, about whatever happens with Jaylen, whatever happens with the Celtics and That Jaylen very clearly does care about Boston. And like I don't know. Like the radio is going to say what the radio is going to say. And I hope at this point, Jaylen's been here for a while. I would hope that Jaylen understands that the radio is going to say what the radio is going to say, and you just can't take it that seriously. Maybe not. Maybe it's really starting to rankle him, and that's hard to blame. But regardless, I mean, stuff like this is really cool. It's cool to see him out there. It's cool to see guys getting an opportunity to play in front of somebody of his caliber. What an opportunity. That would have been really fun.
Yeah. You know what? That's a great point, man. Because I just remember when I was young enough to play in games and tournaments and things like that. And if it would have been cool if a Celtic had shown up, you know what I mean? That would be like, I mean, think about.
I still tell anybody who will listen that I got that I lost 3-on-3 against like 43-year-old Travis Best. Like, I'll tell anybody who will listen. I'll tell everybody listening to this. I'll tell you all again in a couple of weeks.
That's right. I think, that is definitely cool. So it's good that he's doing things like that. And look, you're right. You're right about I'm sure he has strong feelings for the city of Boston. Think about the things he's done at MIT and Harvard. He's done a lot, and he's had a ton of opportunity. Boston is a great place for a guy like Jaylen Brown, who is so conscious about all of his own self and his own education and the community, and trying to improve the community around him. It's actually kind of a perfect place, because you have on one side, like really on one side of the river, you have all of the Ivy League and high education, things that really can, like, think tank type of things you can go to. And then you also have a city in need. You have areas that are really hard hit and economically depressed, and really cover a lot of the things that he's trying to fix in the education system. And politically, like, he's really trying to turn things around. And I think this is a great place. You can go to one community and say, hey, let me see what the school is like here, and how do we change things. Then you go to like the intellectual community, and everybody kind of brainstorms, and then you can actually apply it. It's such a unique place. And then you turn the corner and you're at your practice facility, and you go lift and shoot, and then you turn the corner and you're at the game. And it's everywhere you turn. You could be supporting your fellow professional athletes. Not hard to get into a Red Sox game or a Bruins game, which he's been seen at. It's not hard to be in a part of Boston or the Boston metro area where it's the intellectuals. It's not hard to be in a place in Boston where some of these things need to be applied, and he could be at the center of all of it to try to make things better. And hey, look, if you come up with a system, or if you come up with some solutions and it works, and you start to make things work in Boston, being in this place, big media market, easy to get these things publicized. Like, I'm not even talking about basketball. Jaylen has the opportunity to take this and go global with it. And then he can go home to the Atlanta area and start to bring some of that there. He doesn't have to play for the Hawks to go do this there. He can be influential wherever. Now, who knows how happy he really is. And I think I've not seen any indication that he's unhappy anywhere. He seems to be fine with everything. Seems to love his teammates. You see his reactions to these guys all over the place throughout the playoff run. Seems to be happy with everything. You hit on it, though. I hope that he understands the difference between the people who need to tell the public that Jaylen is probably upset in Boston, because by doing that, they're stirring up the reaction. I hope he understands that, versus the actual kind of media and the discourse around him, because I think generally speaking, the discourse around him is pretty good. And yeah, we can debate certain things about his basketball game, but the fake opinions out there, the things that are just meant to drive callers, I hope he can differentiate from that. And the aggregators who kind of hop on that and just want to get clicks. I hope that he and other players can kind of differentiate from that and say, okay, that's just people who they'll say this about anybody. It's not even about me. It's not even a personal thing. They will do that to anybody and everybody. And for the real content, he goes to the people who are actually around the team and can speak with some nuance and context.
Well, I think it's as far as content goes, I think most of these guys are mostly consuming whatever comes across their timelines more so than anything. But regardless, I think the other thing that's important to note about Jaylen, you said that this is kind of the perfect place for him because of all the different things he can do. And I think that's right. I think with the higher education, with the opportunities to affect change within the education system, with all that stuff, that's all really important for Jaylen. And then I think the other thing too is Boston is such a sports city. It's just a sports town. And who takes his job very seriously? Jaylen Brown. Jaylen comes back every year better. You see him doing these crazy pool workouts. You see that he's whatever he's trying to drown himself or whatever he's trying to do down there. I don't know.
I wouldn't survive that workout.
That one looked rough.
John, just let go. Huh?
Yeah, well, yeah, and you're let go of the mortal coil. That's what you would end up doing. But yeah, I think I think that's the other thing that's a little bit under discussed with in all of this is I think Jaylen takes sports as seriously as Boston does, at least as reasonable Boston does. I mean, you'll always get your fans who are you're paid millions of dollars, you should be working out 15 hours a day, but anybody reasonable who is also a Boston sports fan, you can be an intense Boston sports fan and really and respect who Jaylen is as a player and as a worker, as somebody who, is in the gym every summer, is always working on things. Is he perfect? No, but he's really good. And he's really good in large part because he's worked at it. When he came into the league, he was not this player. He was significantly less good than this. So, and that's a big part of the reason why he didn't play in that first season. He got better and he kept getting better and he kept getting better. And now he's an all-star. And I mean, if that doesn't appeal to your Boston sports fan ethos, I don't know what will. Just a guy who comes in and just, I mean, literally a lunch pail guy, right? He worked hard, and that's, you just kind of have to respect that about an athlete.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, look, I think nothing's universal, and some people they're not going to buy it. They're not going to buy into it. And we'll just hope for the best, I guess, with him as far as that goes. I mean, Grant Williams was in Boston last week and was asked about it. Let's get into that when we come back. Let's get into Grant talking about Jaylen and Jaylen being mature and kind of getting through it. It is what it is. It comes with the territory. Celtics remain the favorites, betting favorites to get Kevin Durant. At least they are on BetOnline, and hopefully, I don't know. We'll see. I'm very much against that, but we'll see how that goes. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. You can find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, obviously the NBA, but Major League Baseball, NFL, which is ramping up big time now, NHL, combat sports, esports, golf. If you want to bet on golf, there it is at BetOnline. Continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. They have live in-game betting. That's a feature that a lot of people like. They have scores and podcasts that got you covered. So head on over to BetOnline today. You can use your mobile device to do so. Learn about all the action happening today. BetOnline is where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. Grant Williams was in town last week. I was there at the Junior Celtics camp and he, after the camp, was asked a bunch of questions. Spent about 6-7 minutes with the media. Was asked obviously about Jaylen Brown. Said, "Hey, you want to do your best to take it with a grain of salt." I feel like JB's mature in his mindset. He knows that. Um, Basically, everybody understands that this is a business, and everybody kind of hopes that it is. It's just a rumor. And I had a podcast last week before. Shows you how long this rumor has been going on. That he should take it as a compliment. Jaylen should take this as a bit of a compliment. If you're going to be involved in a trade, you might as well be talked about in trades in terms of Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard and all of those guys. You don't want him. You don't want the trade rumors to be for like mid-level guys and be like, yeah, Jaylen in this in a pick for a mid-level guy. You're talking about
DeMar DeRozan.
Right. You're talking about like megastars, and so no one wants to hear the names and rumors. But Grant brought that up and say, look, you take it for what it's worth, and say, at least you're being talked about in the same sentence as one of the best. And hey, if it doesn't, if you stick around and that doesn't come to fruition, you come into this season with a bit of a chip on your shoulder, and you use it as some level of motivation, which I don't know what the motivation would be. What kind of motivation do you have when you play better? Because you say, oh, you tried to trade me. Here's me playing better. Then you should have rumors every season about him then if he plays better.
Which there have been, and he does.
Maybe that's the key. Maybe that's the key to Jaylen's success. Last summer, there were no rumors. I've been attributing it to missing the whole summer because of the surgery on his wrist. Maybe the key to Jaylen Brown's success and how good he's gotten every year is, oh, you want me in Kawhi rumors? Okay, I'll show you. And then he gets better. And then somebody's like, hey, who else is good? Jimmy Butler rumors. Oh, yeah, I'll show you. He keeps coming. Maybe you go to Kevin Durant and maybe he becomes second team All NBA. So just keep dropping the rumors. Next year for LeBron.
Yeah, maybe I was gonna say maybe he just like assumes the power of whoever he's been in trade rumors for. So like next season he puts together like a KD season, and the Celtics are like, "Do you think we can get away with this?" And then they start floating like Jaylen for Jokic.
Yeah.
Jokic is unhappy.
Luka? What?
Luka?
Yeah. That would be like awesome. I like that he just absorbs the powers of whomever he's in trade rumors for. I like that.
By 2028, if the world isn't underwater, he's like in the post, like throwing Jokic passes like behind his head. He's grown like 5 inches, so now he's KD's height. It's gonna be something.
Trade rumors actually physically growing a person. I like
it. To like monstars you,
yeah.
Except you become the monstar. Yeah.
Sure. But I think Grant's idea is right. And this is hard. Because we don't understand. We don't understand. We talk about it all the time, and certainly anybody listening, it's hard to comprehend being, first of all, good enough in your job where people want you, but it's okay. So you work at wherever you work. I mean, but other people are like clamoring for it. I mean, it's not like there's other podcast networks going like, hey, John, come on over. We want to sign you or anything like that. Like that doesn't happen here. Like, and I'm certain that the Locked On Podcast Network isn't like, shopping me around to other networks. Be like, we'll trade you Karalis for 2 hosts and the rights to another. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, what if I have to just pick up and all of a sudden say, I get a call from David Locke's like, yeah, you're doing Locked On Wolves now, and I just got to move to Minnesota. Like,
or Locked On as a whole trades everybody for Kevin O'Connor, whatever it might be. Like you guys,
right,
like a big blockbuster. You never know.
Right, it's Kevin O'Connor for, God, that would be a lot. Karalis, you get like everybody. You get Matt Moore involved in there.
Get some picks, yeah.
Some high school podcasters that but that's what it is. That's what NBA, like, you get all of this money, you get tons of money, but look at the Derek White thing from last season. Okay, Derek White, Like, let's speak on it on like normal terms. Derek White's a dude going to work, right? His job happens to be playing guard for the San Antonio Spurs. He's, he's a young guy, young wife. She's pregnant. He's excited. Like, okay, we're starting a family. This is very exciting, nerve wracking. You got doctors that,
Yes.
especially the first time pregnancy.
Yep.
It's going around, you have a son. You got to find the right doctor. If you're not comfortable with the doctor, then the whole thing is like uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden you get a call, here comes, oh, hey, Coach Pop. Yeah, you're going to Boston now. Like, huh? What? And now you're going to take your wife and say, well, here are your choices. You can stay here by yourself and stick with your doctors and go with the plan, and we'll, get your family here and whatever. Or we can like go as a family unit to Boston. You got to get all new doctors and, live in a hotel for 2 months. Like, that's just, I know you get millions of dollars for it, but that doesn't make any of that stuff easier in terms of like emotionally.
Yeah.
Like, you're all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, panic. Now, you can
I
afford.
would contend it does make it easier. It doesn't make it easy, but getting millions of dollars does make a lot of things easier.
Okay, yes. It doesn't make it easy.
Just to be pedantic, yeah.
You're right. It doesn't make it easy. It does make it easier because you can like, okay, we're going to fly first class and we're going to, whatever the team pays for the hotel and all that stuff. It does make it easier. Sure. I misspoke. It doesn't make it easy though. It doesn't make it easy. It's still difficult to go through all of that stuff. And look, Jaylen's here. He's with his grandfather. His grandfather who's been like, who's fought cancer and he's gone through all that stuff. He's got through COVID, caught COVID and survived. Like, this is like, he's been doing a lot of stuff, and I'm sure he's got a ton of like irons in the fire and the stuff that we're talking about in the last segment. It's just difficult. And so the Grant stuff, the way he characterized it, I like it because it's just like, it's a business, and you just got to like get yourself in that headspace where you got to expect, like, okay, Kevin Durant's being traded. Here comes my name in rumors. Just got to try to block it out and deal with it.
Yeah. It's what makes, like you said, it's the trade-off. And, Jaylen's been dealing with that trade-off ever since he was drafted, right? Like, which that would be a whole different thing, right? Like, there were the draft day rumors, and then, there were like, the next offseason after that. Like, it's always been there. So, I think he's like, the guys kind of talk about how they get used to it, and I'm sure they do, and I'm sure that's true. But it's no matter how used to it you get, I'm sure you still kind of, I'm sure you're still worried that call, that knock on the door from Greg Popovich is coming at some point, because chances are you're not going to play for the same team your entire career. So these are the trade-offs.
What else from Grant? I mean, Grant it was a nice little day there. I mean, he didn't say anything, particularly groundbreaking in that. It was good to see him. It was funny. He starts out the interview. So he in one of the shooting drills, he said, I'm taking 2 members of the media to be on his team to shoot. And there were 3 members of the media there. Adam Himmelsbach showed up afterwards, but it was me, Bobby Manning, and Sherrod Blakely. And one of the a Celtics employee mentioned to Grant that I'd played in the past. And so Grant was like, well, no, I can't. If you have played, I can't take you on my team to shoot. Like, I don't want to stack my team, even though I very likely would have airballed the shot. So he took Sherrod and Bobby Manning. And so I told him afterwards, I'm like, you understand, it's been a minute for me. Like, I would not have, I probably would have airballed it. And then he starts off with like, I was afraid I was going to airball it because, and then he stops and he's like, and like, you could tell it's like he wanted to say, basically, I because I haven't touched a basketball, or because I haven't really shot, because I haven't done anything. And he didn't want to sound like, oh, wait a minute, I was about to dig myself into, but like, it's also like your season just ended
Yeah.
In June, you you're supposed to take all of July off. When
Yeah.
you're in the finals, that's 4 weeks. You
Yeah.
have to take that time. People don't understand you. There's like little microscopic little tears that happen. And if you just keep going, like the stuff it doesn't show up on an MRI, it doesn't show up on the, you know, that's you don't let that stuff heal, then it's like tearing a little piece of paper. It's just there, and it's like it's not a big deal. But the more you pull at it, the more it's going to have the potential for the whole thing to rip in half. So you got to spend multiple weeks just resting and relaxing. So he's just now starting to get back into the gym and get some shots up and ramp up. And he talked about that. He's like, it's different. Like I can't play 5-on-5 yet. I normally would be playing 5-on-5. So it's a little bit different. And I think that's going to be a challenge for all of these guys. They're out there doing all of their whatever. Jayson Tatum had the big golf tournament, and he's probably hasn't shot much. I don't think he's been shooting much at all. He's probably just getting started because he's got to, I mean, what do you want? What do you want from these guys? You got to give them a chance. You don't come out of the finals and be like, yeah, I'm going to go in and work out for 6 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember a few years ago I got when I was talking to Tony Dobbins, and he was telling me he was like, yeah, like Jaylen was texting me 2 days after the season ended that he wanted to get back in the gym. And I remember thinking to I wrote the story pretty much based on that, but I remember thinking to myself, like, I wonder if anybody's going to be like, well, yeah, isn't that what these guys do? Because the answer is no. It's insane to want to get back in the gym 2 days after your season ends. Like that's a wild decision.
No, right. And it's like, I'm sure that, like, okay, yeah, like that's great.
And for Tony, it was wild. I'm sure Tony was just like, you got to be freaking kidding me.
Yeah. God. Fine. Yeah, sure. Jaylen, whatever you want. You sure you don't want to rent out a gym in the Bahamas? We can go go to the gym in the Bahamas. They have basketball gyms there.
Yeah.
Something in like St. Lucia. I hear there's a basketball court in St. Lucia everybody likes. Yeah, so I don't know. It's I think the short turnaround is going to be a topic that we continue to talk about for a while. And to hear Grant just kind of get into that, and it's hard because you can't, you got to be careful about what you say, but like it should be understandable. Like there's a process to all of this. Like these guys are just going to be like landing the plane of preparation as they get into the into training camp. Did you see the video? There's a video that's been going around of this plane in Greece that basically like nearly clipped like the top of people's heads as it landed because the runway's so short. It's like a notoriously low approach, so a lot of people tend to like go and get this video of the plane coming like within so many feet. This one came like within 5 feet of people's heads as it landed. That's basically what these guys are doing. They're getting real low, and it's like almost like, are you sure you're gonna make it? Like, are you sure gonna be ready? Like, are you sure? Is this a little kind of dangerous here? But these guys are gonna like walk into camp and be like, okay, we're gonna need like these next few weeks to kind of ramp up still, and that's just how it's gonna be.
Yep. No, it's gonna be. There's gonna be moments next season where I think we're all like, yeeks. Yeah, that this team played pretty late into the summer, and
when Ime rolls out 13 players.
Yeah, exactly. When Kabengele gets actual minutes, though, that's going to be the moment that you're like, oh yeah, this team needs some rest.
Yeah, Kabengele getting the start on the second night of a back-to-back in October, November. So
that's not true. It's going to be the superstar Luke Cornett.
Yes. Hey, look, I saw the list that Keith Smith tweeted out of remaining free agents, and the free agents that were in the big man free agents. I was like, oh yeah, this is why Luke Cornett is their guy right now. Yeah. This is exactly why Luke is their guy. Because
I would literally rather see Luke Cornett than half of the guys on that list.
LaMarcus Aldridge, Dwight Howard. Like I'm like, you know what? No. DeMarcus Cousins, no. Whiteside, shoot me, no. Not like, yeah, give me Cornett. People don't realize Cornett's like athletic. He's like a big dude. He can get up. He can get you lob. He can.
Yep.
I
He'll
mean,
be. Yeah. When it comes
it's
down
not
to him,
great,
yeah. No,
but he can. He's finished a lob before.
yeah. No, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it
I
looks.
mean, I'm not saying he's Robert Williams or anything like that, but I mean, come on, he's better than 82-year-old Dwight Howard. Let Dwight Howard go play wrestling somewhere. All right, I'll wrap it up here. I'll wrap it up. I feel like, Tom, the standing podcast has actually thrown me off my game a little bit. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just an excuse. Maybe it's what is it? Correlation without causation. I'm not sure. I feel like a little off. I feel maybe it's just a lack of topic. I'm just all over.
Maybe it's August 16 that's throwing us off.
Maybe. Yeah.
Very reasonable.
All right. Well, we'll see you, Tom.
See you guys.
I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. It's a fun one, even though we're kind of scatterbrained podcast. Every once in a while, look, I feel like sometimes you shoot 2 for 10, and this might be my 2 for 10 podcast. Getting guys' names wrong, sure, whatever. Still having fun with it, though. Still hope you're having fun with it. We're going to be back. Actual stuff to talk about after the schedule release. So I'll be back after the schedule release podcast to kind of break that down and get into some of the pitfalls. I know that there's going to be a West Coast trip in early December because we know that they're playing the Warriors December 10th. So we'll get into that stuff, break that down, and then we'll see. I don't know if we're going to do a Friday podcast or not at this point. 3 days a week until the season resumes, until training camp opens, and we're back to 5 days a week starting in September. So subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can get the show wherever podcasts exist. It's free. It's going to be daily. It's a regular podcast. Hey, 3 podcasts a week. You're not going to get 3 podcasts a month from some other places. So you're going to get plenty of Celtics content to get you through your drive to work, walking the dog, taking a shower, whatever it is. Do appreciate you listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast. Watching it, you can watch it on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed there. And, of course, share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching Locked On Celtics here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.